So I don't know what's going on. I've been having problems with my uploads, and all of a sudden, in the middle of a video, it shuts it off. It stops with YouTube. I don't know what's up with that. Anyways, so I see a lot of videos, especially with the people that support police brutality. They say they don't, but they do, and you see it in their comments. Openly calling for murdered and subdued and everything. They don't care if it was. I mean, they even make the argument that they're okay with the racist cop who killed George Floyd, because George Floyd had a record. So I guess if their kids or somebody in their family has been previously arrested, and they get arrested again and they get put in handcuffs, and the cop shoots them in the back of the head while they're on the floor, with their hands tied behind their back, they're okay with that because they had a record. So that's their mentality. I see some of the videos of people out there committing, being violent, people of color being violent, and they post that as an explanation and an excuse, as a permission for police and the government to beat up and murder black and people of color, in general. So, I mean, first of all, the point that people are trying to make, and I don't know how many times I have to say this or people have to tell you, is not that we condone violence, is not that we are pro violence. The point that we're trying, and then they come out with their, what about black on black violence? What about black on black violence? If people live, if most of the people, first of all, most of the people who live in black neighborhoods were pushed into black neighborhoods by the white establishment, by police. They were marginalized and pushed in there and red taped and redlined into those neighborhoods, into slums, by the white establishment. So when people, why is it that there's black on black violence? When people have problems with their neighbors, they don't choose which neighbors they have problems with. You have a problem with your neighbor, and you don't think it's, okay, I'm not going to have a problem with this neighbor because this neighbor is black. That's not how it works. If you have a problem with somebody, you have a problem with somebody. Now, people say, okay, why do they resort to violence more in communities of color than they do in non-colored communities? It's simple. Most people in communities of color understand what police do to them. Police in communities of color have historically, and are still doing it, acted as an occupying army, as an occupying force. Okay? The way, if you grew up in a poor neighborhood, in a low-income neighborhood, you know better than to call the fucking cops. Because when the cops come, they start beating people up. They only read most of the time when cops come in neighborhoods, they come to arrest people. They come to beat up people. They come to. I mean, I can't forget that video of a police department doing a sting operation, a setup operation. They parked a box truck full of Nike sneakers, and they left it open in a community that's heavily impoverished. People who are in the margin of survival, people who are absolutely clinging on to survival by the skin of their teeth. And you plant a box truck full of merchandise in the middle of that community to entice them, saying, you're poor, I know you're poor, and you're desperate for a couple of dollars to put some food on your table, and here I am, I'm gonna leave this box truck open here with a bunch of high dollar Nike shoes to see how many of you I can bait because of your desperation, so I can arrest you. What? That is horrendous to do that. That is like leaving a high dollar, food item truck full of high dollar food items in a place where there's famine, waiting for you to arrest people, so that they come in with hunger, and when they come in and start eating because they're desperate, you start arresting them. That's exactly what the way police departments behave in communities of color in the United States. That's what's going on. So one of the big reasons communities of color don't call the police is because historically the police just look up all the video evidence, all the case evidence, everything, how police have treated people of color, beat them up, murdered them, lynched them, incarcerated, still incarcerating people of color 11 times more than they incarcerate people, white people. And then, no, it's not because we commit more crimes. That's absolutely absurd. It's a lie perpetuated by white supremacists. So, having said all that, I still do not condone violence during protests. Now, the immense majority of protesters are nonviolent. They're peaceful. There's always a fringe element. Not a fringe, just a small element that always resorts to some type of rioting, some type of looting, and they vent their frustration and anger against the system by destroying anything that's around, that stands for the system. And when I say the system, the socio-economical machine that perpetuates the constant abuse of people of color. So, and I see the people out there posting videos of young black people in the streets, or like I saw one the other day. They're in one today about an arcade or something where young black people, a young black female, tore down some of those barriers, the plastic barriers that now the transparent plastic to protect the employees, and she got violent because the machines started eating their money. So apparently, I don't know if it is that they didn't want to give her their money back, so she resorted to violence. We must resist. Not only the violence that comes from the outside, we also must resist the violence that comes from the inside when we want to strike back at those who take from us. Violence must be a last resort, only a last resort, to defend our family and ourselves. Now, when I make another video of the protest in Portland, but suffice it to say that the right wing in this country and the racist people in this country consider Black Lives Matter, including the President of the United States. He considers Black Lives Matter as a terrorist organization. He's openly said it, and we know he's a white supremacist. We don't expect anything less from this fascist buffoon in the White House. So when and I'm for, let me tell you something personally, when police show up and you know they'll start having peaceful protests, and police show up and start tear gassing people, they're the ones inciting the violence. First of all, that's illegal. It's against rights, international human rights conventions, every one of them, even even the United Nations and Geneva Convention. Everybody has agreed to not use gas against in any type of confrontation. It's considered a war crime. And but as soon as these people show up, they start shooting people with rubber bullets, and there's a big lump of rubber, and that shit can kill you. And they shoot people in the face with it. They gas them, they beat them up, they sick dogs on them, and they want to call the protesters violent when they're the ones inciting the violence. So everything was a peaceful demonstration until the cops show up, and then until Donald Trump's Gestapo shows up, and then beating everybody up, shooting at them, gassing them, and then, you know, all of a sudden the right wing says that these people are, you know, rioters. And when the riot began, the true rioters and the true criminals are the guys shooting the tear gas, because everything was peaceful until they got there. So see, these people are inciting violence, and even then, the people, the vast majority of the people, what they do is they just resist, and they have their leaf blowers and all the stuff to blow the smoke away. But you know, still back to the behavior of some of the people in the black community, and in the Latino sometimes community, and the people of color community. We must not, because that's what they want. You see, if they get you violent, they get you right where they want you, and it's hard not to lash out after you've been treated like shit and with violence, and institutional violence, and you get, you know, a lot of opportunities stolen from you. If you steal back, you're a thief. But when they steal, they're just, you know, it's just business as usual. They just deal with a computer and a system that they and stuff, stealing. So at the end of the day, we can't become what they want us to become. It's too expensive. The cost of operating under violence. We must not fall into that trap of violence, because if we do, that's what they want. There's just this fascist. That's exactly what they want. So resist, but resist without violence as much as you can, and try not to let them win in your head.